All right, what's up, everybody? This is the WBL preview show for the upcoming 2020 season, whenever that does happen. I'm your commish, Nick Brown. I'm alongside Ryan Brown, Jonathan Sullivan, Dan Static, the normal WBL preview show crew, minus the mysterious stranger who has left the league. So today we have a variety of topics. You know the deal by now. We do these every year before the season. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. Ranging from awards, predictions, expectations, and of course, everything going on with the pandemic. So we're going to get right into it. So Ryan, why don't you kick us off here and lead us into our first topic? What do you got for us?
Sure. So obviously last year was quite the interesting season. We expanded from 9 captains to 15, which was quite the wild ride. One captain just forfeited out. The playoffs turned into a 3-day tournament instead of our 1-day, finish it all at once sort of usual deal. We had our first ever non-Millbrook champion in Jonathan. So shout out to Jonathan for getting his first league title. But we've definitely got some storylines going into the 2020 season. We'll start off with this one. Can Zach bounce back from his putrid performance at the plate this year?
All right, I guess if nobody's going to speak up, I'll start here first. Zach did struggle a lot last year, but I think, everybody goes through their own stretches where they struggle in different parts of the game. And if spring training has been any indication so far, before things were shut down, I think it was pretty evident that Zach is getting back much into form. A lot of debate as to what could have been going on as to why Zach had such struggles last year. I think one of the biggest factors was probably because of his inconsistent attendance. But other than that, he looks back to his normal self, and I think he looks primed to return back to his normal self.
I'm a little worried about him getting back to his normal self. He's got back issues. Everyone knows that. He goes to the chiropractor from time to time. He's not shy about letting people know that. So I'm potentially worried that, last year was the beginning of a potential, this could be a case of a superstar, derailed by injuries. One of those what could have been type of guys. We saw him break down. His arm broke down in the Rockland Bay tournament. Remember that last year? I'm worried about him. I think this could be your classic superstar. What if, a career cut short by injury potentially?
Everyone has a slump. Everyone has a down year. Zach is a great pitcher. We know that. I think that pretty much held up last year too. The hitting obviously took a spill, but come on. Spring training, he looked pretty good. I think he has a chip on his shoulder. I don't see why he doesn't come back to form, at least close to form. So I'm not that worried.
Yeah, he looked pretty good in the playoffs last year. Definitely better than the regular season. And yeah, like you guys have said, he's definitely looked like the Z of old in spring training so far this year. I do agree, Dan. He's probably going to come in with a chip on his shoulder. It's just going to come down to attendance, like that was also mentioned before. He missed half the games last year, and that obviously threw off his rhythm completely. And that, combined with the enhanced pitching dominance, that just sort of messed with him, and he was not immune to it, which was really surprising to see.
A big wrinkle will be the strike zone.
Yeah, that's true. The new strike zone.
For everyone, though, too.
Yeah, I think that's a good I guess we can do, if we want, we can segue right into that, because that's a very important topic, because the strike zone is essentially shifting pretty heavily. We're going from our strike zone being attached to the ground, literally, to now being elevated. I don't know what I've only seen it in pictures, just like the rest of you guys. So I can only assume it's maybe I don't know, foot off the ground or something like that. I don't know the exact measurement, but it's enough. You know, we've had so many complaints over the years, especially from one Marguise, who gets struck out seemingly every at bat, apparently, according to him, from the back bottom legs of the chair. So
I hate those legs. Hate those legs.
I think it's one of those things that the entire league hates the legs, and this is just a matter of time. I think it was inevitable, this change, seeing as every professional wiffle ball league kind of has one of these strike zones. So it's really good for us to finally get into the mainstream wiffle ball league as far as our equipment. But I think it will be a very big adjustment. The strike zone shifting up now allows pitchers to kind of attack the higher parts of the zone that they weren't able to before. So I think you're going to see some different approaches taken by some of the pitchers in the league. So really excited to see how this all works out.
Yeah, real quick, one pitch that for some reason in my mind I think will change is like a up in the zone, like fastball or two seam, because now you have this big square, right? And you can hit that top corner, you can hit, the right corner. Beforehand, if you did that, it would just go right over the chair. Before then, you would have to put like an off-speed type of pitch to maybe hit like the top left of the chair. But now you have a bigger strike zone. You have more of like a equal type of thing, and you're going to be able to hit those high ones more.
Yeah. So it's something struck my brain as soon as you started talking about that. I think you're going to see a huge benefit to the pitchers who have that kind of high arching pitch, where it's kind of like a rainbow form. I'm talking about two of the people here in this call right now, Ryan and Jonathan. I think you guys are going to see some improved performance based off the fact that the strike zone kind of plays more into your favor, whereas before, the highest part of the zone was like at the middle of a normal strike zone. So you kind of had to start your pitches at a lower starting point. Whereas now you can kind of start it off high, and if you get that thing to cut in and just hit the very top, it's going to be a very hard pitch to hit, not only just to put in play, but to put in a effective part of the field. So I think the guys kind of like myself who have kind of tried to adjust to the strike zone and try to keep pitches low, and that our ball trajectory is just very, it starts middle and ends up low instead of it starts off high and ends up middle or low. I think it's just going to be a massive adjustment, I think. And I think the 5-ball rule is going to be really helpful, especially with the adjustments to the strike zone.
I think Marcus is going to be the most affected by the new strike zone because he was the king of just aiming straight fastballs at the chair legs on the mound. And now you can't do that. He's going to have to bring those straight pitches up in the zone, and that's going to allow people to possibly tee off on them. Not that they didn't already, but even more so if he's not able to aim those and paint the black. So I'm going to be very interested to see if he's able to adjust to the new strike zone and how well. So I sort of mentioned it earlier, but last year, pitching just overwhelmed the league. Hitting just plummeted. Batting averages decreased almost unilaterally across the board. Only myself and Marcus saw their batting averages increase last year. Mine only increased by like 0.003. So with that in mind, do we think that this sort of pitching dominance is here to stay, or are the bats going to light up and return to sort of normalcy?
With the new strike zone, no. Batting will come back.
I also think batting will come back, and I think something that also you have to take into account for batting coming back this year is the implementation of a potential 5-ball walk count, which obviously if it takes 5 balls to walk instead of 4, that will require more, pitches, which I think will lead to more swings, even if it falls out of the zone. And that I think will help bring batting averages up because balls out of the zone, they might not be very good hit, but a ball out of the zone, probably I would say a good amount of time will go to the opposite field. And that's almost a guaranteed hit for most batters.
Yeah, I want to believe that. I do, but I need to see it to believe it because the way pitching dominated last year was just so never before seen in this league that I need to see it to believe it. Because on one hand, I want to believe it was a fluke last year, but on the other hand, I gotta see it to believe it.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that's going to go down, and I think that's strikeouts at the plate. I think whereas before, with the strike zone being lower than it is, I think a lot of people's plate vision, they saw balls that just if you have baseball experience, you see the ball coming in so low, and you're like, I don't want any part of that. But now with so many balls elevated now higher, it's going to tempt more people to swing. And I get, if you want to argue more people are going to be tempted to swing, more chance of them swinging and missing. I just think people in this league are talented enough that I don't think you're going to see those that strike out a lot strike out anymore. I think they'll strike out less. They probably will be chasing less, especially guys like DR who love to chase. So I expect to see a lot more balls put in play, whether it be for outs or for hits. So I do think pitching strikeouts will be down. I just think strikeouts in general will be down. I think we'll see a lot more fielding actually be forced into the spotlight this year. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe the Gold Glove will actually have an increased value instead of just kind of a scapegoat Marquise Award this year.
I think strikeouts will be down more so because of the strike zone rather than the five ball walk rule. Because I think with the 5-ball walk rule, you're giving the pitcher more of an opportunity to throw that paint. You're giving the pitcher more leeway, but with the new strike zone, yeah, I think you'll probably get less strikeouts. But I just wonder, within the pandemic, I don't know when we'll be able to play, but how will we play? Will it be in Zach's backyard? Will it be how? I don't know how that happens.
Well, I can tell you right now that we're not going to be able to play in Zach's backyard during the pandemic because that would involve us using multiple backyards, and that's just not feasible at this time. So if we're going to play, it's almost certainly going to be up at the park in Millbrook. And we'd have to bring out the old garden hose for the home run line, bring back the home run rob rule where you have to jump over you have to leap from the in-play side and to go over to try and rob a home run.
Is the park still open?
Well, it's certainly not closed. I can tell you that. There's no way to block it off unless they put up police tape on the entrances. So that's probably our best bet right now. But again, it could be another couple of weeks. It could be a month or two. We just don't know. So it's anyone's guess.
Yeah, it's a very fluid situation right now. I know a lot of us have been talking and trying to figure out what to do in the interim. We've been, looking around at other possible venues to play at. Some of them, like Abington, are blocked off. Some of them in Hanover are not blocked off. So there's the potential for that. I think regardless, I don't think anything happens until May 4th anyways, because, right now we're in the midst of what people are calling, the peak of it. And so, the encouragement to stay inside and to stop the spreading is higher now than ever. And I don't think it's probably going to change for, I mean, even longer after things are over. I think people are still going to encourage, washing your hands and taking the necessary precautions. So once May 4th comes around and we start hearing decisions from, like the government and everything about what's going to be available, what can you do, is anything going to open back up? I think we don't have a choice but to wait till then and see what happens from there. So there's almost not too much we can really talk about. I think we've kind of figured out what to do depending on which scenarios happen. And we kind of just have to wait and see what happens to go from there.
All right. So moving on to the next topic. So Jonathan became the first person not named Ryan, Nick, or Zach to win the WBL championship. So with that in mind, is this the dawning of a new era in the league, or is this a youth movement?
Well, okay, so
I think it is. It already started.
Yeah, it started with me. Like I don't know where the disrespect. I know I got this long beard now, but I mean I'm younger than this kid. I'm younger than Jonathan here. Where's the love? Listen. I'll let Jonathan have his I'll let him answer this question, but I'll just say the youth era started long before now. Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I think it started I could make an argument 2 years ago, even though Munchkin didn't win the championship then. I mean, when you looked at the stats, Nick should have won MVP that year.
Thank you.
I really think that the youth movement's here to stay. We got Nick, probably leading the charge. It'll be interesting if we get a full season out of Alec because he's pretty good. People love. I don't find him that hard to hit off of, but some people get really in their head, Nick, about his knuckleball and whatnot. So I think us three leading the charge. I mean, I mentioned Zach's got injury problems. Merguez, we talked about if it's going to be an issue for him pitching with the new strike zone. He's never really been close to winning a WBL championship to begin with. So UDS, you're pretty old. And Ryan, I don't know about you either. I think the youth movement's here to stay. And I think it's been here for a while. You guys are just finally coming around to
it. Do you care to comment, Dan?
Fuck you. You know what? The grandpa will have his day. You know what? I helped you on that ship run. The Quincy legend helped you on that ship run, you fuck.
And don't forget about me. I carried him to the championship.
You, Jonathan, you showed up to like 3 times. 3 times total you showed up.
Kiss that trophy over my shoulder, bro. Kiss it.
Big asterisk.
I've kissed that thing before.
Big championship. Big.
Oh, jeez.
And yeah, I mean, the argument that Nick allegedly carried me to a championship, that doesn't hurt. That only helps the youth movement argument as well, though.
You have a fake championship.
All right, let's lay that to bed for now. So historically, the home run race has been dominated by me, Zach, and Nick. Does anyone here think that a new challenger can step up to the home run throne?
No.
No explanation. Just straight up accepting defeat.
I don't know why. I mean, it depends on the fields we're playing at. If we're playing in Rockland and even Abington, I don't see it. If we have many games in the park, that remains to be seen depending on how that field plays. But as long as we stay at the fields we've been playing at, I don't see a change occurring with that.
We played a fair amount at Field 1 last year, which I hate that field. I think it's very home run friendly. If we play at like Bean Field and Lacey Grounds a good amount, again, I don't know, but the park, I don't know. We'll see, but the park could probably be the most neutral field because we can make it that way. But between Bean Field and Lacey Grounds, that'd be a different story. I don't know who would step up, but we'd have to have like a consistent – whoever does, they'd have to be there a lot. So.
All right. So I think that kind of does it for the storylines going into the season. Do you guys have any in particular that you'd like to discuss before we get into the awards predictions?
I'd like to see if anyone's making a year two jump. Most of the new guys last year weren't there at the very end. They all kind of faded away pretty quickly once the playoffs came around. So it'll be interesting to see if any of them can hold their weight this year, basically. And
do you care to name names?
Cam Mooney won't.
Cam Mooney had the best batting average of the returning newbies.
Sophomore slump.
Yeah, really just Cam. Paul, I don't trust the play. You guys know how I feel about that.
Paul is the reigning rookie of the year, though.
Yes. But I don't trust him to show up when push comes to shove. He's shown that he won't in the past, so I don't know why that would change this year. But it's interesting. Yeah, Cam Mooney and the Quincy Queen, I would say, and Miller as well. Definitely Miller, because he probably shows up. He's probably the most consistent, either him or the Quincy Queen last year. Probably Miller, at least at the beginning of the summer last year. But if Miller can put it together a full summer, might be able to make a run.
I'm really interested to see how Alec does, because, we barely saw any of Alec, even when he came back during the late part of the season. He still only showed up probably like 2 or 3 times. We played all of his games at once. So I'd like to see how Alec does putting together an actual full season as well. See if he can get back to his old days as a pitching ace. But I think at this point, people have kind of figured him out. But it'll be interesting to see if maybe he comes with something different and catches everybody off guard. There's a lot of time with everything going on with quarantine, so you never know. People might be in their backyards messing around with some new pitches, new forms, new styles. So I think this season has the potential to be the most unique with all of the changes and just the overall uniqueness of the current state of the world factoring into everything going on.
I think if anyone's going to step up out of the new players from last year, it's probably Cam. He's nothing special as a pitcher, but he definitely showed some flashes of brilliance at the plate last year. And I think if anyone has the potential to sort of break out, it would be him. I'm not saying he will, because I don't think he will. But if I were to put money on any of those 4, it would probably be Cam. He finished top 4 in the standings too last year.
Yeah, Cam's got the talent. He just he struggles with effort. You know what I mean? He just seems like sometimes he shows up and he just plays kind of lackadaisical. So I'd like to actually see him show like he cares a little bit more. Put in that effort.
Shows up hung, bro. Cut him some slack, bro. He's a beast. He shows up hung.
Yeah, maybe show up sober one time and see how it goes.
All right, and so before we get into the awards predictions, let's release the 2 divisions for the upcoming 2020 WBL season.
People are going to be very upset about this, by the way, but we have everything that happened live, like it was on camera, I'm pretty sure, or we have witnesses.
Yeah, randomly generated, and the random generator did not do certain people favors. Let me tell you that. In the first division, we have DS, Alec, Nick, Jonathan, Billy, and Paul.
I love that division.
And just for clarification, something we probably should have mentioned beforehand. So we split up Billy, Paul, Miller, and Cam. We made sure each division had 2 each. Being only their second year, we felt it was probably, we did the same thing we tried to do the same thing last year by splitting everybody, the new guys, up as evenly as possible. So we just wanted to do that again. And then everybody else was looped in together, the other 8.
Yeah, so Jonathan is loving it. Those are his first thoughts for sure. Dan?
Oh, I love it. Jonathan going down. This kid's not making the playoffs.
Oh, boy.
I'm also very excited to be a part of this division.
Yeah. Fun fact, you two, Nick and Jonathan, were in the same division last year. So you'll...
Wow, that is pretty fun.
We do be carrying divisions on our backs.
Yeah. Which means for the second division, we have Marcus, DR, Zach, Ryan, Miller, and Cam.
Merguise is not going to be happy about that.
Wait, one more time, Ryan?
So the second division is Marcus, DR, Zach, Ryan, Miller, and Cam.
Wow. Oh, God.
So that's if I'm DR, I am hopeless. You have been dealt the worst dish possible, and you have the random number generator. Thank for that.
It was, I think it might have been his idea too. It was either his idea or Zach's idea to do the random bracket generator.
Yeah. So
one question. The division me and Jonathan were in, weren't Paul and Billy both in that too? I'm pretty sure they were.
I think you 4 were in the same division last year.
Yeah. I could have sworn like our entire division. Who's the only one we're missing? Who do we have? Was it?
I think you had DR.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had DR.
We just got rid of DR. And then, can you imagine if we had kept our entire division together and then just added like one person?
Yeah. So D2 is definitely a tough setup for some.
On paper, must be known that the first division has produced the last 2 champions. So
it's true. This is very true. Very true. So Dan, your thoughts on the second division?
It's pretty stacked. It's going to be a battle. Have we decided playoff parameters?
Yes, we have. It'll be the same setup as last year, just with reduced amount of teams to go along with the reduced amount of captains. So with 12 captains this year, the top 10 will make the playoffs, but 7 through 10 have to play a single elimination play-in game, sort of like last year.
Okay.
So the last 2 spots into the double elimination tournament will be play-in games, single elimination.
Schedule-wise, so do we play?
So schedule-wise, you will play everyone from your division twice and everyone from the other division once.
Okay, I figured. Yep.
So should be quite the battle in both divisions with how that works out.
That's for real, though.
So with that in mind, why don't we get going with the awards predictions? So let's start off with most valuable captain. So who do you guys think is going to have the best record in the league? And for context, Nick and Jonathan have correctly predicted the most valuable captain each of the last 2 years. So a little bit of pressure on you two.
Who did I predict last year? Can you let me know that? Or the last year?
Zach was most valuable captain last year.
Okay. I'll start.
Yep.
My most valuable captain pick, I am going to go with Nick from our division. Our division on paper, is weaker, so I think that definitely benefits him. He gets to, beat up on Old Man DS twice, Miller twice, Billy twice. Probably not, but
Miller's not
Nick,
in your division, by the way.
Oh,
Paul.
Same thing. Or Paul twice. I just think he allegedly carried me to a championship. Should have won the MVP 2 years ago. I think he's all around best player in the league, and I think that's going to show with the best record in the league. Best player in the league has best record. I don't think that's far fetched to believe.
All right, Nick, go ahead.
Okay, so just to clarify, we're doing one from each division, right?
No.
No? Okay, I thought
Who's going to have the best record in the league?
Okay, I just heard that wrong.
Fuck you, Jonathan.
So, sir.
Bro,
I think it's very obvious that this captain has to come from my division, the first division, whatever it is. So I think I'm going to be a humble man, and I'm not going to pick myself.
Because you can't.
Because I can't. But not
Definitely
because you said, but because I'm humble, because I'm a humble man. And because I'm a humble man, I will say that Jonathan, and for pretty much all the same reasons, he already gave the perfect logic to it. I think we have a lot of trash in this division, and it's just about time to take it out. And if I can't pick myself, it's going to be Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm also picking Jonathan. He takes pride in picking in his opinion, the best teams possible all the time, and takes pride in his regular season record. And last year, to his credit, it finally paid off with an actual championship. But I think he's going to have something to prove this year because he's going to want to prove that last year wasn't a fluke. He won the division last year, and he won it all last year. And he's going to want to prove that wasn't a fluke. So for that reason, and given the division setup he has, I like Jonathan to win that division and the most valuable captain.
Yeah, so Jonathan is my pick too. I think he's going to be a regular season darling, and then he's going to the fuck out in the playoffs. So yeah, Jonathan will have a great regular season. That kid's toast in the postseason.
It's interesting that you bring that up. I was sent in a different chat. I was sent this screenshot from Ryan's archives about league championship history, and I don't know how much this pertains to playoff success, but if you look back in the past, we have listed 7 years in the WBL, Jonathan only being a part of a certain amount of those, obviously. Jonathan is a career 1-1 in league championships. But the fact that he's made 2 championship appearances, and I think you've been playing for 4 or 5 years?
4 years.
4 years?
This is my fourth year.
Yeah, so two championship appearances in 4 years means that's a lot of playoff games that you have to win to get there. So I would just like to throw that in the face of DS before he makes some false statements there.
I think it is.
We're talking about this year.
Maybe it is my 5th year. Maybe, yeah. I think when I was saying 4, I played in 4 years.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
We're talking about this year, okay? He's going to be regular season darling and then toast in the playoffs.
I don't want to win. I don't want to be the most valuable captain. I think that might be the new, President's Cup trophy. I think you put all the pressure on yourself going into the playoffs, and you don't really have an advantage. I mean, you get to be home or whatever we do, but it's not like you get the first pick or something, which would be a huge advantage. I think you put a lot of pressure on yourself as a 1 seed. So I would
get home.
I know you get home, but I don't want to be the 1 seed. I think it's the new President's Trophy curse. I'd rather be like 3 or 4. I'd rather come in second in my division and be like the 3 seed.
Fair enough. For context, Zach is the reigning most valuable captain, as I mentioned earlier. He's a 4-time winner of that award, including 3 of the past 4. So a little bit surprising that nobody took a stab in the dark at picking Zach, but given the division layouts, I also am not surprised. So next award, it's not really an award so much to speak, but home run champ. This, as mentioned, has been historically dominated by 3 people. Nick is the current back-to-back home run champ. Does anyone see that changing?
Me.
All right, Dan, who you got?
I got you, Ryan. I think it's going to be Ryan and Zach neck and neck. I think Nick is going to be sort of there, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a Ryan and Zach showdown, classic like you read about, Attitude Era. You love to see it.
Yeah, I think it. I'm also going to go with Ryan this year for just the home run champion. I think Ryan's going to be swinging more for power. I think he's looking at these, the sabermetrics more. Don't hit for contact, swing up. So either strike out or home run. And I think, with the new strike zone, it's going to be harder to, nips the bottom corners and whatnot. So I like Ryan to win the home run crown this year.
Yeah, I was going to make that point if you hadn't. That the elevated strike zone only helps the height in the league. So, Ryan being 6'4", pitches are forced to be elevated higher. The long wingspan, the long reach with the bat only helps him even more. And it kind of makes things a little bit tougher for us short kings out there. So I gotta be honest, fellas, with everything going on with the current state of everything, I feel like total shit, both mentally and physically. So I think the people that have gotten through this the best are probably going to be in the best position for success. And so that's why I don't think I'm going to win that home run title this year. I'm still pretty hopeful about, what's going to happen well down the road. But
yeah,
I as a humble man will award that home run title to Ryan just for this year, though.
And also, can I add one more thing? We know Ryan added some muscle on in the off season, so it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how that plays off. I don't know if he's losing muscle.
Yeah, we're definitely losing some of that game. Quarantine's not helping me. But since you can't pick yourself, I, like Nick, will be humble, and I will pick Nick to go back to back to back, mainly because he is solely focused on hitting dingers. He doesn't care about his batting average. He strikes out when he's not hitting a home run, and I think he takes pride in that home run champ title. And regardless of what he says he's feeling or not, I think at the end of the day, he's still going to be up there. The days are gone of Nick coming out hot in the home run race and then flaming out. Those days are done. He's in it for the long haul. And until somebody takes it from him, I don't really know. I don't think he's going to give it up. So I'm gonna go with Nick.
Fair.
Thank you, kind sir.
So the next award we introduced this past season in the FBL, we're going to bring it to the WBL. It's the Baxter Award. Nick, can you give us a little bit of a background to the Baxter Award?
All right, yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong. Baxter was Marcus and Marcus's girlfriend Izzy's old dog that believe cancer. I forget which kind particularly, and unfortunately had to be put down. The league, of course, has a very soft spot for all of the dogs, doggo members of the league, evidenced by the T-shirts that we made with Emma on the background, the very first T-shirts we made.
And the very trophy you see in the right corner of Jonathan's screen.
Mm-hmm. So on that front, we decided, given the circumstance when that unfortunate stuff went down with Baxter, to try and make an award after him. And so basically the Baxter Award is given to the person who gives it his all in all aspects of the game. And we saw this award, I believe, if I'm right, went to Berto in the FBL. Because when we played during this past FBL season, when Berto showed up, he was always a guy that came in and played balls to the wall. Didn't matter whose game it was. He was laying out for everything, and not just in stupid, clumsy fashion. He was just an absolute grinder and a guy you wanted on your team. At those, usually he was picked middle to late rounds, and he was a guy a lot of people went to, because he was a guy that you could count on to at least give you that effort in your games. So the WBL will be interesting to see how this goes, because it's very easy with our long days or long mornings. It's very easy to kind of get very lazy or kind of just go with the flow and not be very balls to the wall, for lack of a better term or metaphor or whatever saying. But yeah, so basically we'll see how it goes, because it's a much longer season. It requires a lot more time and effort put into showing up and playing hard. So whoever does that, to the determination of the rest of the league, whoever does that the best will be given the Baxter Award.
So with that in mind, I'll start us off first. I think DS is going to win this. And
Madge?
the reason I say that is because DS had a really, really tough FBL season. Just got hurt early and often, ended up not being able to show up for the rest of the season. Yep, I appreciate the air quotes.
Okay, dude.
And I think that Dan, he's coming off of a year where he was second or third in the Cy Young vote. And he's always trying. It's just sometimes it doesn't look great. No offense. But I think you're going to come in with a chip on your shoulder, Dan, because you want to prove that either A, you're the worst hitter in the league, or B, that you're out here to prove the naysayers wrong and that you can win a title. And the only way to do that is to give it your all for everyone, because nobody's going to try for you if you don't try for them.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I'm going to go with DS for the first ever WBL Baxter Award.
I was also going to go with DS for the Baxter Award. And pretty much what you said, Ryan, I think that it all comes down to also playing a lot, like kind of like Nick said. So all the new guys, they all had some issues last WBL season with showing up every weekend and whatnot. So I think that they're out for that. DS has been pretty good. He's kind of rewrote his stereotypes of not showing up or showing up late and whatnot. And then I just got to go with like the core members. Zach had trouble showing up last year. I don't know if that's going to continue. Ryan, I just simply can't pick you because you never try on my teams. Nick, you quit on 6 and 11, so I can't pick you. And Merguis, I think, is going to have issues, if he can't find the strike zone. And as we saw in spring training, he really wasn't trying in a lot of games. And I'm not going to forget that. Even though it was spring training, I'm not going to forget that. And DR is just simply not good enough.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said, and I'm not even going to sit here and waste anybody's time and try and make a case for anybody else. I think all the factors that go into this award only present DS with an opportunity to lose on his own accord. It's his award to lose. So.
Well, my pick is Zach. Again, he had a down year last year in terms of hitting. And I think he's poised for a comeback. And I'd say this too, between the tournaments we've done, Rockland Day, MLW back in December, the Tennysons, all of that, I've seen Zach lay out in the field more often in the last year and a half, 2 years than ever before, which I love. So I think he's putting it all out there on the field. I think he's leaving no stone unturned, and I think he's going to be the Baxter Award winner. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, can I just add one more thing to that before we move on about Zach?
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see how many tournaments or games his girlfriend shows up for, because I think that could directly correlate to how hard he tries. I think if she's there, he's obviously going to try a lot harder, at least at the plate.
An interesting perspective for sure.
That's a take.
Sam,
Well, remains to be seen if that will come to fruition. Let's move on to the doo-doo glove. Last year, Nick unceremoniously won that.
which on
So who do we have for doo-doo glove? Dan, let's start with you.
Doo-doo glove this year?
Yep.
damn, you
Nick.
put the kid on the spot.
Nick. It's Nick.
Slot.
Oh, jeez.
I think the water levels, they equalize. Nick, he's going to have a bad regular season. Merguez did not look good in the spring training. I know. But I think Nick has a tough time out there. I think he'll have the most errors. And, yeah. Sorry, Nick.
Well, here's the thing with the doo-doo glove award. I think a lot of it comes from effort. I think it's not hard to be a efficient enough fielder in this league because, I mean, it is wiffle ball. And look, the concerns from Marguise in spring training, these are legitimate concerns. It seems like there's an effort level that is just been slowly declining for Marguise. And I think that's a big factor into why he was playing so horribly in the field in spring training. Now, you might sit here and say, oh, it's just spring training. Once the actual season starts, he'll get things back together. But I beg to differ. I think this is just the peak, or not the peak. This is a slow increase and a decrease of effort and a decrease of fielding efficiency. So I'm going to pick Marguise, much to the detriment of history and historical trends.
That would certainly be something else. Go ahead, Jonathan. Sorry.
All right. So DS mentioned the amount of errors that you make. I think that the amount of errors you make shouldn't be really considered. I understand the point of it, but I don't think it should be considered a ton for when you're picking a doo-doo glove, because hypothetically, if you make the most errors, one, you might not be the worst fielder, you just show up a lot, and two, you're probably in position to field, you're playing on the strong side of the hitter, whereas like someone like myself might not have as many errors as Nick, but Nick's obviously a better fielder than me just because he just simply had many more opportunities to make plays than I did because of where he's positioned in the field.
Yeah.
But I'm going to kind of contradict myself with this and go with someone that actually doesn't normally tend to play the strong side of the field. And this has been happening for a while now, unless there's some secret, night before the award ceremony coup, which may or may not have happened last year for the award. It's DR's. DR is people don't think I'm a good fielder, and I won't say I am, but DR is the worst fielder in the league. It's his award to lose.
Yeah, DR, I agree with you, John. The DR is so overdue for one of these. He just makes catching a routine fly ball look like the hardest thing in the world for no reason whatsoever. I do want to say though, if Nick's prediction comes to light and Marcus goes from winning Gold Glove to Doo-Doo Glove without a conspiracy, that would be something. That would be something to write home about. The complete demise of the alleged best fielder in the league.
So yeah, I'm banking on that night before coup against Mark with that pick. But also, I think just throw out stuff. I think the reason why DR is such a bad fielder is when you look at him and how he catches fly balls. I don't see many people, maybe other than Billy Campbell, that actually do this. But he stretches his arms all the way out, all like straight above his head, Like, he doesn't, like, wait for the ball to come down at all to, like, catch it, like, securely. He kind of, like, catches it with his arms straight up like this and then, like, catches it at the top. So it just kind of, like, it presents himself more opportunities to kind of, like, fumble a catch. That's just what I noticed, so.
For sure. So moving on to Gold Glove, Marcus, two-time winner, only winner. Nick, I can't imagine you're going to go with Marcus to three-peat here.
No, not even close. I'm trying to think because I actually didn't really put too much thought into who's going to win this award because this award is, I said earlier that this award could have more of an impact this year, and I still believe that, but it's also one of those awards that can kind of just be made up at the last minute by a joke. So if the league has a coup against Marguise to get the doo-doo glove, it's likely that the league will also have a same coup to give somebody like Jonathan the Gold Glove Award. And for that reason, I'm picking Jonathan.
Jesus Christ.
There's no way that the league makes a coup to have you win the award.
Yeah, I'm going to second that. I think that a league coup for doo-doo glove is more than acceptable because that award is just a complete joke. But if people actually like collaborate to vote give somebody who's undeserving Gold Glove, that would be a little bit of a shame.
Yep.
So Jonathan, who do you have?
For my Gold Glove winner, I'm gonna go with you, Ryan. I just think when I go across the board, I just think you're the most consistent fielder, pretty good on ground balls, really solid on fly balls, probably more range than anyone in the league. So yeah, I mean the way Marguise has fallen off, it looks like. Z just doesn't have the range that you have. Nick is prone to errors. Yes, prone to a few errors every once in a while. So I got you for Gold Glove this year.
Z doesn't get a ton of fielding opportunities. I don't know if that's just because he doesn't play on the pull side a lot or what, but Z doesn't really seem to get a ton of fielding opportunities. Maybe it's because the limited range. I don't know. But like if he got the same amount of fielding opportunities as say me or Nick or Marcus, and Marcus doesn't even get that a ton either. He's because he only plays outfield. But like if he got more opportunities, I could see him working his way into the race.
Well, that's what it is. The people that get the doo-doo glove are the people that play infield pull side. And that's me. That's why I get pounded with errors because I'm always playing infield on pull side. And yeah, sure, I don't make every play, but I get enough opportunities where, a ball takes a bad bounce and it is what it is. So I think the guys that play the outfield, it's not that hard to catch a fly ball. And otherwise, you're not going to really make too many errors.
I'll tell that to some members of the league.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to go with Marcus to three-peat only because I think this was a giant – not that he tried to make it look like he's all of a sudden bad at fielding, but I think this is just all a facade and that it was spring training. He just didn't give a crap, and he's making it look like his fielding has all of a sudden deteriorated. I doubt it. I think he'll be back to normal come the regular season.
You trying to bring Marguise bias back?
What?
You're trying to bring your Marguise bias back from last year's WBL preview show when you picked Marcus for everything?
No. Spoiler alert, this is the only award I have him on.
Thankfully.
I picked Marguise too. Same reasons.
Wow.
Yeah, I do sense that there could be some voter bias if people realize that he's won it both of the last 2 years and that he was the one who cried for this award to be created so that he could win it. I could definitely see a new Gold Glove winner. But I don't know if people are going to – obviously we will. But I think that there are enough people in the league that will just stick to the status quo for Gold Glove.
Fair.
All right. So next up on the dock is most improved. Last year it went to Marcus. We've never had a two-time winner for most improved. And it's also historically, it's been the hardest award to predict for us. I got it right last year, and that's the only correct pick that any of us have had on the season preview show. So this one is always up for grabs. I think we usually end up having at least 3 or 4 different players get votes at the end of the season for this award. Jonathan, let's start with you. Who do you think is going to be the most improved player in the 2020 season?
Okay, so my MIP, I'm going with the first vote for a player that is not one of the core members of the league. I'm going with Cam Mooney for most improved this year. We've mentioned before about him showing up or his lack of trying, but I think if he shows up and tries, his numbers across the board, because he has pretty good talent, should be a lot higher than they were last year. And I think that's going to translate into, a high seed in the division playoffs and whatnot. And I think as long as he shows up, 75, 80% of the time, I think he's got a really good shot to win. Who will be the most improved? Like, if you were looking at the standings and like statistics from last year to this year, I think will be Zach, just because he was so bad at the plate last year. But I don't think there's any way that people vote for Zach for an award like most improved just because he's been so good in prior years.
Also because his pitching has never dropped off. Like you could easily see the bounce back at the plate, but because his pitching has never drifted, it's going to be impossible for him to get any votes.
He wouldn't even technically be improved. He would just really be back to the status quo as well. So that wouldn't,
True. Dan, who do you have for most improved?
Most improved on my end, the Quincy legend, Billy Campbell. I think his batting, especially towards the end of the season, he had a hot end of the season playoff run with his batting. He had a few dingers out there at Bean Field. I think
that's just because he lit me up.
Well, I think the Quincy legend has a great year, most improved. I think he'll battle up better for average, and his power. I think his power will be there.
I'm going to go with Alec. Obviously, he doesn't really do very well as a captain, but he's shown that he's capable of being both a solid hitter and a really good pitcher. And last year, with his limited playing time due to work commitments, he wasn't able to get any sort of rhythm at the plate, and his pitching was meh. He's won a Cy Young before, and he's posted some really good stat lines at the plate in years past. If he is able to play consistently, and this is obviously a trend, the more people show up and play, they should get into a better rhythm for the most part. And I think if Alec is here playing in 90-something% of the games this season, I think he's a easy candidate to be right there in the running for most improved. And so I'm going to go with Alec.
Yeah.
Nick, who do you have?
All right. This award it's like you said, it's tough to predict. It kind of it is really hard to make such big jumps in this league. I feel like everybody kind of eventually gets into a point in the season where they are going with the flow. So you don't really see a lot of people making big jumps and like staying with that big jump. Like if they start off hot, you don't really see them staying that hot throughout the entirety of over the course of the season. Like what we saw from Miller last year, becoming an absolute pitching god. But that didn't last. It didn't start hot right. He didn't start hot right away. And when he caught the fire, he didn't keep the fire the whole entire time. So I think, you have to look at who had the biggest slump. And when you look at that, you look at Zach, and then you look at, Alec, because of, at least in my opinion, the numbers were a bit lower just because of his attendance numbers. So to me, it really comes down to either Alec or Zach. And technically, I have to give the award to Zach, because I think just you can't argue the number difference that Zach will likely have, like the jump that Zach will have from his numbers last year to his numbers, what they should be this year, based on the consistency that he's had over the course of his career. Ryan, you're giving me a look like you don't understand what you're saying, and I'm just curious if there's anything to that.
Yeah, so you're going to give most improved out just because somebody returned to their usual playing level at the plate, even though everything else will presumably be normal?
Well, okay, here's the thing. Alec, sure, he's not the same that he was before, and I don't think that's going to change. I don't think he's that amazing of a pitcher that he was deemed as back when he won Cy Young, when he was keeping track of his own strikeouts that one year. I don't think he's ever going to get back to that form, so I don't really see him as a huge pitching threat. So I don't think he's necessarily going to improve all that much. I think how he finishes, how he's probably going to be. And then at the plate, of course, I think he's going to improve at the plate, but I don't think his improvement is going to be as large as Zach's was, just because of how horrid Zach was at the plate last year.
So despite everyone having down numbers across the board hitting pretty much.
Right, but if you look at it, Zach's numbers went down so much more because he was doing so much better than everybody else before everybody as a whole dropped.
My issue is that go ahead, Jonathan.
My thing with most improved is that my vote is someone that has improved better than they've ever been before. So like Ryan, unless someone like Ryan, unless he hits like 600, cannot win most improved. And even like Zach, unless he hits 600, he will not win most improved, because you're talking about a kid that already won MVP before. Yes, he improved from one season to another, but I vote for most improved on someone that takes a leap to a step that they've never been to before, and Zach has already been the highest plateau in the league.
Okay, so that's a fair argument. I understand the interpretation. I guess that's just not what I was interpreting it as. So I guess I'll give you two answers. So if we're talking about just based off from one season to another, what do you mean no?
Just give us who's your most improved.
Well, you can write down whatever you want, but I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay, so who's the most improved player?
Well, it depends on your interpretation of the award.
What is your interpretation of the goddamn award?
Well, I don't know. I got to think about it, because I originally wasn't thinking from that kind of standpoint, but I understand the logic to it. You're kind of putting me on the spot. I don't really know which side to go right now. I get.
Were you listening? Because Ryan and I talked about that when I gave my award pick.
Yeah, right. But that's not what I was thinking. So now I have to like weigh it in. That's all I'm saying.
Gun to your head. Who are you taking?
I guess I'll take Alec now.
All right. So now we're moving on to the big three, in terms of not in terms of awards, so to speak, but Cy Young, MVP, and championship matchup and winner. We'll start with Cy Young first. Zach is the reigning back-to-back Cy Young. Whether you agree with that or not, that can be argued. Nick has correctly predicted the Cy Young 2 years in a row, and Jonathan has done so 2 of the past 3 years. So with that in mind, DS, who you got?
I got Nick. I think Nick, his pitching, he's had a lot of tournament experience recently, over the winter, last summer. I think Nick is poised. He's had more experience pitching on our new strike zone than anyone else in the league. So I give that advantage to him.
I'm going to go with Nick as well. I mean, he's so overdue for one of these awards. It's not even funny. He's got the best ERA over the past 2 years. The win-loss is right there with Zach. He's going to be playing to get the award this year. He feels, and you've heard him say it on this show repeatedly, that he feels gypped out of one, and he's going to do everything in his power to make sure he damn gets his this year. Jonathan?
Jonathan, go ahead.
So both your picks were Nick, you and Ryan and Dan.
Yeah, are you listening?
Okay, I'm going with the Z repeat. I think with Nick, he's got a lot of experience pitching, but in those tournaments, he definitely throws harder than he's going to be throwing in the WBL. So I think you got to factor in that as well. I think it's possible that Z could be practicing on the strike zone in his backyard. We don't really know right now. And I think Nick has some good movement, but I think Z has the most movement on his balls, and especially with that riser that he throws, I think could be deadly on the new strike zone. And so for that reason, along with the Z bias that exists in the league, we know that the Z bias exists in the league. I'm going with Z for the repeat Cy Young.
Before you go, Nick, I will say I do have sources that tell me Nick has been throwing bullpen sessions during the quarantine period on a similar strikeout to the new strike zone. So should be interesting to see if it translates.
Are the sources your eyes?
They might be.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just put the rumors to bed here. I have set up a tarp in the backyard, and I have been trying to simulate that strike zone and working out some stuff and see what is going to work and see if I can add anything or change anything up to try and get a step ahead before the season starts. I got to be honest. I appreciate all the support with this pick from two of y'all, but I got to say I am pretty nervous coming into the season just based off of the uniqueness of it all. But based off, I mean, this is a very easy pick for me. It's Zach, just because, I mean, this is a guy who's just been consistently a great pitcher for all these years in this league. Can't choose myself, and I want to pick somebody else. I'd like to pick DS, and I would love if DS proved me wrong and came out and had an absolute bombshell of the year and took this award home. But ultimately, I guess I have to go with the historical trend of Zach just being a top-of-the-league dominant pitcher among the likes of myself. So my pick is Zach.
All right. So moving on to MVP. I am the reigning MVP at 2 times. We've each, the 4 of us, have each correctly predicted an MVP once. So it's anyone's guess as to which one of us will be the most reliable. The only other winner of MVP has been Zach. So gonna need somebody to challenge the 2 of us. I'm gonna throw it out there right now. Not only do I think Nick is going to win Cy Young, I think he's gonna win MVP.
Jesus.
And I say that because, again, he could have won a Cy Young in years past. He might have even had a case for MVP. But at the end of the day, he didn't get them. And I just think that he's got the most to prove out of me and Zach and him. So my money is on Nick to win it if it's not myself.
I got you, Ryan. I think Ryan takes it again, and his pitching will be good enough, and the hitting will obviously be there. And, you know, your record hopefully will be better this year than it was last year. So, yeah.
I think it was okay last year. It wasn't anything.
I thought you were close to 500.
Yeah, I was like 7-5. Wasn't great, but wasn't terrible.
Yep.
Jonathan?
I'm gonna also go Ryan with you. I'm gonna go with Nick for MVP of the league. I picked him for most valuable captain, so that will give him the most wins. I think that will really help his case for MVP. Similar to Merguiz with the Gold Glove, I think we could have some voter fatigue, which could lead to new votes for MVP. I think he'll be right there in the home run race with you, even though I think he'll come out on top of that. But I think his ERA and his pitching line will be better than yours because, one, he'll get to play weaker teams during the season, and two, he just tends historically across the board to put up better pitching numbers than you. So for that reason, I'm going Nick for MVP. Although I am a little worried because I think this league does have an older person bias for the big awards, but I think hopefully that trend breaks this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like the concern is warranted about this this older league member bias that this league definitely has. But I think, you know, when you pick your award, it's who should get it. So, you know, I thank you for that, I guess. You know, this is another thing you might roll your eyes, but there's a lot of talk, and it's not even just in this sort of setting, but you see this in professional sports all the time, about the interpretation of the MVP award. And I think a lot of people are quick to jump to somebody who is the best at a certain category. So, for example, if Ryan is by far the best hitter, you know, and they see that, you know, like if he gets really hot, there's maybe a recency bias, whatever it might be. But, you know, you see somebody at the top of one category of the game, and they might be quick to jump to that pick. But, you know, I did this last year, and I'm using the same argument, even though it didn't exactly pan out my way because Zach's batting numbers were atrocious. But I expect that to change. I expect pitching to be the same. So, therefore, I'm picking Zach. He should be the most valuable player at all assets of the game. So, or all facets of the game. So that's going to be my pick.
All right. And that leaves us with the thing we've all been waiting for, our champion in the championship matchup. Last year, Jonathan beat me in the championship to win his first title. Zach's a former 3-time champ. Nick's a former 2-time champ. And I've also won a league title. Yeah. I correctly predicted the WBL champion twice in history. Last year, Nick actually predicted the exact outcome of the championship game. Nick correctly predicted Jonathan to beat me in the championship.
Yeah, what's
Very
up?
impressive.
What's up?
Never been done before. So, with that in mind, Nick, start us off. Who do you have in the championship game, and who's our 2020 WBL champion?
No, I'm passing the baton to somebody else. I need to make sure I get this pick right. There's a lot of pressure on me right now.
All right. Dan, why don't you lead us off?
Or
do you need more time?
No, I'm good. It's going to be Ryan versus Nick, and Ryan's going to win.
All right. Jonathan, do you have a matchup?
Yeah, I'm going to go Zach versus Nick, and I'm going to go with Nick winning the championship for the second in 3 years.
All right. I'll go next. I also think Nick is going to be in the championship. I obviously have him as my MVP and my Cy Young and the home run champ. So I think he's going to just dominate across all facets. He's had some trouble getting out of the first round of the playoffs.
No fault of my own.
Yeah, okay. I think he's definitely going to get past that hump. He's 2-0 in WBL championship game. So once he gets there,
Clutch gene.
clutch gene. 3-0 if you include FBL championship matchups as well. So I do like Nick to get to the championship game. The problem is he's going to run into a wagon. He's going to run into this Cinderella story that's been years in the making.
Oh my God.
There is one original core member of the league who has never won a league championship. That would be Dan Sadik. Dan Sadik has been truly horrendous for years. He's 0-2 in FBL championships and has never made a WBL championship game. That ends this
you
year.
stink.
Dan is gonna find a way. He's gonna be Mr. Grit this year. I have him as the Baxter Award winner, and I think he's gonna find a way to make a Cinderella run this year, and he is gonna slay the beast, the MVP, the Cy Young, the home run champ that is Nick in the championship game.
Bang. Bang.
All right. So I am not lowering myself to making such a foolish pick as to say that DS is going to make the championship game, because he just does not have what it takes to make it. But after a lot of thinking, I guess what I'm processing is I worry about picking myself for situations like this, and I'm surprised so many people are so easy to put me in the spot. But I feel like when we pick this specific outcome, so much of it pertains to, past history, or of like how much picking your team actually matters. And that's why Jonathan is so good as a captain, is because he picks his teams so well. He's got such a great awareness. Now, that being said, there's also a different level of people, like, and I'm trying to figure out how to put this in the words, but I guess I'll just not be subtle with it, or I'll be subtle with it. There seems like people show up for certain captains more than others, or at least it feels like it. And I feel like nobody ever loses Zach games, and because Zach just seems to make it to countless championships over and over again.
Well, Mike knocked him out last year.
Right. Last year was one of the first times where I actually said, wow, like Zach's team did not show up for him, and he just got bounced by Low Mike of all people. And I feel like that happens to me all the time. I got bounced by, was it DS? I think, no, that was football, but I don't know. DS might have beat me in the first round in WBL anyways.
Yeah, you choked against the 12. You choked against Alec, I think. You choked against the 12 seed in the 5-12.
Yeah, no, and I remember I remember that game because literally we had one hit the entire game. It was a 1-0 game, and I had one hit, and that was it, and everybody else just kept getting out. But regardless, so based off the fact that I just feel like Zach gets to countless championship games and nobody ever does him any wrong except for that one time last year, I'm picking Zach to make it to the championship game. And I think somebody who claims to always get screwed over, but in reality never really does as much as he makes it seem like, is Marquise. And that's why I'm picking Zach versus Marquise in the championship game. And I think I'm gonna go with Marquise to win this one. He's made a lot of
Marquise bias.
I mean, yeah, this is like the one good award I picked him for. I picked him for Doo-Doo Glove. But I think ultimately there is a very evident past history in this league of people. I mean, it's the same cycle of people making the championship game. It just makes me think that people just love showing up for some people and not showing up for other people, which it makes it so hard because I want to pick people based off how they're playing, but it is a team game in the WBL, and picking your team matters so much. So I think that's why you see guys like Jonathan and Marcus, who might not be the top in the league, but they're always in the conversation for the league, to make it to the championship in the league. So that for that reason, that's why I did it.
I'm going to agree with your sentiment there. I literally, in the championship game last year against Jonathan, I picked Zach first solely because I did not want him to be on Jonathan's team against me, because I thought he would try exponentially harder to take me down than he would on my side. He couldn't pitch to begin with, but I thought he would have tried a little bit harder at the very least if he had been on your team, Jonathan, opposed to mine. I think he's going to try regardless, but I thought he would have given it an extra 100, like an extra 10% to try and take me down, just because the rivalry that we have.
Yeah, and I think that there's some players in the league that maybe they don't, during the regular season, they're pretty stable and stuff. But when you get on that championship day, when certain players themselves as their captain get eliminated and you move on to the semifinals and the finals, I do believe that there's some people in the league that no matter whose team they're on, once they themselves are out, they take it down a notch.
Dan, you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah. I mean, I think with some people it could be just subconscious, like they don't mean to, but it's like, oh, you're out of it. You got to play all these games and that, but besides that, for the most part, I just like being out there, man. I mean, like playing, even if like it's not my team, like, yeah, like there's times where you may be like, it's harder to like concentrate because it's not your team. But at the end of the day, you're swinging a bat, you got one strike, you're swinging a bat, you're catching a fucking plastic ball. Like, it's not that hard.
Wow. I wouldn't go as far as say that it's not.
I'm not saying I'm the GOAT or I'm not good or anything, but like.
But if it's so easy, it's not that hard. Then why aren't you better than you are? Why do you suck?
But I'm saying I try. I try.
Try harder. I don't know, man. Like, stop sucking. Join up.
I put effort in. I got yelled at for putting in effort in spring training.
Oh, people forgot that.
So
listen, spring training is for good vibes, good times, and there's no need for tryhards in spring training. I read too.
DS can't play on the second night of a back-to-back.
Yeah, this is true. DS, do you have any concerns about your durability, aka your ability to stay healthy this season?
No, because for the most part in the FBL, yeah, my durability sucked, but I also had other shit going on. And during the WBL, I should be pretty open.
All right. Just going to throw out a couple of stat tidbits here before we sign off. So obviously batting was down. Only 2 people saw their batting averages rise from 2018 to 2019. And in accordance, everyone saw their ERA improve except for Nick, because his ERA went up from 1.9 to 1.93.
Trash.
The other only interesting tidbit I got is that somehow, despite me having the 3rd worst ERA in the league last year, amongst the returning captains, I was tied for the league in saves. I highly doubt that will be replicated. I'm definitely interested to see who sort of tries to be Mr. Rollade's Relief Award winner. Not that there is one, but if anyone sort of goes into the season with you know what, I want to be the top closer in the league, something like that.
DR.
Because there are people,
DR,
myself included, that would love to be like the best closer in the league, even though I'm realistically trash at pitching.
DR self-proclaimed best closer in the league.
Yeah. All right. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to talk about before we sign off?
Nah.
No, I'm good talking on Zoom. I'll talk to you on PlayStation probably in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the last thing I'll say, I'm really excited for this league to get started whenever it does. I hope things clear up soon because I've been really itching to play. So can't wait for the season to start. We'll update everybody accordingly when we can figure everything out.
All right, then that just about does it here. For Dan Sadek, Nick Brown, and Jonathan Sullivan, I'm Ryan Brown, and this has been the 2020 WBL Season Preview Show.